Is Labour really planning to summon Elon Musk to the UK to answer questions over hateful content on X? Well, that is not absolutely out of the question, although it might have rather an embarrassing conclusion. So before we get to that, if you do like a brutally frank, open and honest and hopefully objective approach to the news and the law and what's going on, please do hit the subscribe button. I'd be really grateful and it will help my channel grow. I am independent. I have nothing to do with the mainstream media. So let's get into this. So I picked this up from the Financial Times. Elon Musk faces possible summons before UK Parliament over the role of X. Now this comes about because Labour's Dawn Butler, who is looking apparently to lead the House of Commons Science and Technology Select Committee, told Financial Times that Elon Musk was someone that they'd like to invite as a witness. In other words, they may like to summon him to discuss these things, such as the role of X and other platforms online to do with hateful content. Now, what might happen there? And is there any risk to Elon Musk? Because it has been noted that this might be a trap. This was the exchange with Ian Miles Chung, who said UK MPs are expected to summon Elon Musk to testify on X's part in disseminating misinformation during an inquiry into the riots and the spread of misleading AI content. This is a trap, he says. They'll detain him at the border, demand to see the contents of his phone, and charge him under the counter-terrorism laws when he refuses. Elon Musk quite hilariously responded and said they will be summoned to the United States of America to explain their censorship and threats to American citizens. Now, is there any real truth to this? Is there any possible risk to Elon Musk? And is there any way they can force Elon Musk to attend the UK to answer these questions? Well, this is where we get into some really interesting territory here. Now, speaking of territory, there's a jurisdictional consideration here because the UK would generally be restricted jurisdictionally to citizens of and within the UK if they wanted to summon them for questioning. In other words, they would really struggle to exert any kind of authority whatsoever on anyone in the United States, much less citizens of the United States who are not British citizens, and their powers, the UK powers, would generally be confined to within the UK borders. So they would really struggle to have any impact and any influence, much less authority whatsoever. Secondly, even if they did, there would be an enforcement requirement. They would need the cooperation of the United States, even if they agreed that these powers existed. They would need the cooperation to enforce this mechanism to bring somebody from the United States. And if that is just for questioning, that is just not going to happen. We're not in extradition territory here because it's not as though there's been a serious crime that someone is accused of and the two powers are going to cooperate together for extradition to bring somebody here. That, in this situation, is just not going to happen. However, this is not the first time that the UK has required or requested somebody to attend the UK, but I'll come back to that in a moment. Is there any real risk to Elon Musk if he did concede and he did come to the UK for questioning? Now, generally speaking, you understand anybody that comes in or out of the UK may be subject to questioning at the borders and so on, and it may lead to implication of the Terrorism Act, as was indicated here by Ian Miles Chung. Now, if we look at the counter-terrorism policing website here with FAQs on Schedule 7 to the Terrorism Act, there are some very interesting bits here. These summarise the legislation which I've dealt with before. You may recall when I'm talking about Tommy Robinson, because this was one of the offences looked at for him. Now, under Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act, do the police have the right to detain a person's property under Schedule 7? Simply put, yes. Whilst property is normally returned to the person at the end of the examination, officers do have the power to detain anything that they've examined and search anything found during that examination. Can police demand passwords for electronic devices? Now, obviously, Elon Musk would have a lot of passwords for a lot of different things and probably would prefer not to hand them over. However, under Schedule 7 of the Terrorism Act, anybody here and subject to such a search and questioning, yes, is the simple answer. If a person's being examined, they can be required to provide any information requested, including passwords and PINs, to electronic devices. And they commit an offence if they willfully fail to comply with that requirement. So that is an offence under the Terrorism Act. It is a terrorism offence to refuse to provide the pins or passwords to any electronic devices. And so, quite simply put, there's quite a significant and very real risk of anybody that is summoned to the UK for questioning, and then they believe that they may have something to be questioned under the Terrorism Act, and on we go. And obviously, it's an offence to refuse to comply. However, this is not, as I said, this is not the only time someone has been sort of summoned to the UK for questioning. You may remember Mark Zuckerberg was also requested to attend, but declined. They said Mark Zuckerberg was not able to attend an unprecedented international joint hearing in London. This was talking about Facebook. Obviously, Facebook declined an invitation for Mark Zuckerberg from the relevant committees of 5 parliaments for an international joint hearing on disinformation and fake news, saying he was not able to be in London. The chair's comment here: Facebook's letter is once again hugely disappointing. We believe Mark Zuckerberg has important questions to answer about what he knew about the breaches of data protection involving their customers' personal data, and why the company didn't do more to identify and act against those known sources of disinformation, etc., etc. You can find this and read the full version yourself. And this was the letter itself. This was from the Digital Culture, Media and Sport Committee, requesting oral evidence from Mark Zuckerberg. Following material published in the UK Guardian and the New York Times over the past few days, the committee would like to request that you appear before us to give oral evidence. So this was the formal invitation from Damien Collins. As I said in my statement, he says the committee has repeatedly asked Facebook about how companies acquire and hold user data on their site, and in particular whether the data had been taken without their consent, and so on and so forth. And so they formally requested that he attend to provide oral evidence, and they declined. And so it is going to be very difficult, if there were a formal request for Elon Musk to attend the UK to answer questions, to actually enforce such a request. So hence it may end rather embarrassingly, especially because knowing the way Elon Musk tends to respond to these things, will probably be quite aggressive, probably be quite blunt, and thus far that appears to be the case. He's responded here to say they'll be summoned to the United States of America to explain their censorship and threats to American citizens. It's no secret what Elon Musk thinks at the moment of what's going on in the UK, with people being prosecuted and sent to prison for things they put on Facebook or X or wherever. Not to condone those things that are indeed amounting to an offence, and obviously I can't recommend that people do those things, but I do think that a lot of things that people have posted, they may feel amounts to an offence, and they may feel that they need to plead guilty, and it may well be that they ought not to plead guilty, and it may well be, not commenting on any specific case, but it may well be that they may be better off pleading not guilty and going to a trial if they are indeed prosecuted for those things. But such as it is, that I thought was an interesting update. So I hope you found that useful. If you do value free speech, do pop over to Free Speech Union. I will link in the description below. As of today, I am a gold member of Free Speech Union. Pop over there, do subscribe and support the Free Speech Union for supporting free speech. So I hope you found this useful. Do remember to subscribe to my channel here, like the video. I'll give you time to do that now. Thank you very much. I'll see you in the next one.